John and Mary went to Jerusalem for a vacation with the family. And unfortunately, Mary's mom had a heart attack and passed away while there. So when they went to the funeral, Peter took care of all the funeral arrangements, and he was talking to the funeral guy, and he was given two options. He could pay $500 for the mom-in-law to be buried there, or he could pay $10,000 for her to be transported back to the United States where they lived to be buried in her hometown. So after thinking about it for a little bit, Peter goes to the man, I'm going to go for the option of transporting her and burying her at home. And the man said, wow, you must really love your mother-in-law because it's really a big difference in price. And he said, well, many years ago, there was this guy that died in Jerusalem, and he resurrected after the third day, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen in this case. So when you think about mother-in-law, father-in-law, in-laws in general, what do you think about? Let me tell you a few things that I've heard. Monster-in-law, meddlesome. In Spanish, it's a 5-syllable word, entrometidos, which means meddlesome. I've heard they're witches, monsters. They're the worst thing that has ever happened to me. It's very dramatic when it comes to describing these in-laws. And I wonder why. Is it a coincidence that so many people have issues with the in-laws, or is there a reason behind it? Have we learned to feel that way throughout our culture, our history, our society? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about that because there is a lot of history that explains to us why we have this preconception of in-laws in general. Now, I'm going to focus on parents-in-law, but this is going to apply to anybody, any third party that in some way impacts or affects in a negative manner your relationship. So whether it's a sibling-in-law or maybe a friend that you feel is a bad influence for your spouse or your marriage, whatever third party may be impacting your relationship, that's what we're going to be talking about, even though I'm going to be referring mostly to the in-laws because it's the most common one. In fact, research shows that one of the most common and significant issues in family estrangement have to do with sons and disconnecting with their parents because of the wife. So there's a lot of in-law issues that have resulted in family estrangements and rifts that we want to avoid and definitely want to stay away from while engaging in a healthy relationship. So we're going to talk about today about everything, including the past and how we've learned and how society and history has taught us how to feel a certain way about the in-laws. And then ultimately, we're going to learn how to transform that and change that. Because part of having a healthy relationship is being able to get along and cope with all these third parties that one way or the other are going to affect our relationship. Now, as I do with every topic I cover, I like to go back first. So think about how it was for you, for your family back in the day. How did your parents relate to each other's parents-in-law? Did your parents get along? Were they close? Did you feel there was a good family dynamic when you gathered during the holidays, in family reunions? Or was there tension? Was there always this dynamic going on that you felt impacted your parents as a couple and even you as a child possibly? So I want you to go back to that, reflect on that, think about that, and I will come back to you with a little bit of the history of in-laws or monster in-laws.